Hey guys, Humble back in. Welcome to my final review of the Google Pixel 8. At this point, I think I have a pretty good sense of how this phone is. I'm not going to continue the daily series anymore and beat a dead horse. Today I'm going to do a ranking style. I have 9 categories for you, and each category is going to be a best out of 5. We're going to go through all 9 categories, and then at the end of the video, give you one final grade on this phone. But before jumping to the final review, just want to give a quick shout out to my partner Mint Mobile. They currently offer 5G plans for as low as $15 a month. Make sure to check them out to get access to 5G data, text, and calling. Link in the description below. Okay, first category we have up is the cool factor and design. I gave the Pixel 8 a 4 out of 5. Depending how you look at it, the Pixel phones have their iconic look at this point. Anytime you see the back of the phone, you would know it is a Pixel phone, or at least if you were somewhat of a tech enthusiast, NBA enthusiast, you might have seen these phones on TV commercials. So the back of the phone can look really ugly or really cool depending on who you ask. I personally don't really mind it. And this year with the Pixel 8, it is smaller than last year's 6.3, but overall it's not that noticeable. So the design is not all that exciting. It doesn't flip, it doesn't fold. It's just the same recognizable Pixel that I've seen over the last few years. I do like the fact that they did a good job with the polished glass in the back, so now I don't see a lot of fingerprint compared to the previous Pixels that I was using, or maybe it's because I chose a lighter color this year. And some of the things that I still appreciate that still exist is a physical SIM card, at least in the US. I haven't seen Android manufacturers go completely eSIM yet. iPhone, on the other hand, they did go eSIM. eSIM is fine. I tried using it with Mint Mobile. It was actually really easy for me to switch from Android to Apple and vice versa. My only complaint with eSIM is that certain carriers, they only let you switch twice a year. And then after that, if you switch phones more than twice a year, they will charge you a fee. I know most people don't really switch their phones that often anyways, but if you do like me, you like to try different phones. Right now, I could just pop up a SIM card, put it in another phone and use it. But if I do that multiple times throughout the year and I get charged for something that I wasn't get charged before, I'm not really a fan of that. So small kudos to Google for still keeping physical SIM card, at least in the US. I'm not sure about other countries. But on a day-to-day basis, it doesn't really feel that much different from my 7A. I still have my 7A on the side. When using it, it feels pretty similar. I know there's a newer chip and some of the minor upgrades here and there, but nothing really stand out as the it factor. It doesn't fold battery life like the iPhone 15 Pro Max. It doesn't have the OnePlus 100-watt fast charging that you can charge your phone in 10 minutes. I guess you can argue it has a giant Cyclops bar in the back that you can hang on the table if you want. But other than that, cool factor and design, 4 out of 5. Next category is battery. I give it 3 out of 5. On average, I get about 12 hours of battery life on this phone on a normal day, and it doesn't really improve that much even after a week or so. Some days I get close to 13 hours, some days I get 9, depending on how much or little I use it. This is pretty consistent with other Pixels I've used in the past. And not gonna lie, I am the biggest Android fan, but battery life experience will never be the same again for me after using the iPhone 15 Pro Max, where I literally go a full 24 hours plus another 8 hours or more on top of that. Just still doing video chatting, heavy usage, video chatting for 2 hours, I must say. And overall, very impressive with the iPhone battery life. And then now I go from the iPhone 15 Pro Max all the way back down to the Pixel 8. I get about 12 hours. I know that's not really apples to apples comparison, but even on the Pro model, it still uses the same chip. So I would imagine the Pixel 8 Pro might last about 15 hours on average, if I were to guess. And that is pretty consistent with my experience in the past as well. So though all these Android manufacturers, they claim all-day battery life, a lot of the reviewers, you hear people say all-day battery life phone is actually not an all-day battery life. It's more 12 hours, half a day battery life. Depending on when you start your day, you start at 9 a.m., you go to bed at 9 p.m., and you charge at night. I guess you consider that all day, but you start your day at 5 a.m., then you would need to charge your phone in the afternoon. So it really all depends. Point is, not an all-day battery life phone. Don't ever let people lie to you again. Customization and features, I would give it a 4 out of 5. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles that I like on Samsung phones. I know some people may consider it bloatware and things like that, but I actually do enjoy using Samsung DeX, where I can connect my phone to the computer, view notification, use my phone on the computer, and little things like director's mode on Samsung phone. I can record the view, I can record myself login style if I want. So I just deducted a point for that, but I know some people prefer the simplicity of Pixel phones and everything. This is my review and my rating, so I chose to deduct a point. If you guys do your own rating, you can choose to add a point or whatever. At the end of the day, it is still the Android phone. You can customize it however you like. You can drag the icons anywhere you want. You can change the theme. You can make it look like an iPhone. You can make it look like a Samsung phone. Bunch of launchers and everything out there. You have all the time in the world. You like customizing your phone. There's so many things you can do that you can root it. I don't have a lot of time on my hand. I like to keep things simple. I use the phone straight out of the box. I know there's always a way to do something. You have time and effort. You just do the research. You'll be able to make it work. All right, next on the list is camera. This is an obvious 5 out of 5. Pixel phones in general, they take great videos and photos. Even you grab like a random Pixel 5 from how many years ago, they still take really good photos. So even though every year's phone, they may upgrade the sensor, all the software don't always optimize for the newest sensor right away. So sometimes the smaller sensor from the previous generation may produce better photos. But regardless, Pixel, iPhone, Galaxy, can't really go wrong with any of the photos or videos. Next on the list is performance. I gave this a 3 out of 5 despite having the new Tensor G3 chip. It honestly doesn't really feel that much different for me compared to the G2. I still use the G2 on my 7a. I use the G2 on the Pixel Fold. It is technically faster. It is a newer generation chip, but on a day-to-day basis, it feels almost the same for me. And even a part of reason for that is the battery life. I haven't seen a big significant improvement there. And then even doing simple things like playing Pokemon trading card game, which is not an intensive game by any means. I'm just dragging cards around. I'm not doing Genshin Impact or any of those other demos you see people do. But even playing a simple game like that and then switch over to Snapchat and then I switch back, my game will restart. That is very annoying, especially I'm in the middle of a competitive match that counts for my rankings. I lose the match automatically just because my game restarted. And the phone does get hot here and there as well while gaming, while using it as GPS. So processor, despite it being a newer chip, it is not that much better. But scrolling around in general is pretty smooth, fast, and efficient. It's not like the Galaxy A54, where you do notice that it is a second or two slower just navigating around, swiping and things like that. But here, it's fast, it's smooth. If you use one app at a time, it's fine. If you switch between apps, you may notice that it doesn't really do a good job of hibernating in the background. Maybe it's just force closing everything just to keep up with the speed and efficiency. Next on the list is screen. This is a 4 out of 5 for me. Here, I'm just being a little technical. It is 120 Hz refresh rate, which is actually an upgrade over last year's Pixel 7 that was only at 90 Hz. But this year they get the 2K peak brightness. I only deducted a point because it's missing a 4K display. It's not the best screen that money can buy. It doesn't have the LTPO refresh rate. Instead of dropping from 120 Hz all the way down to 1 Hz and just staring at a stagnant screen, I believe it might just be 60 or jump to 120. There's like no in between. And being able to have that, I think would save more battery, but the Pixel 8 does not have that. But just to circle back, I think the screen will be fine, if not more than fine, for more than 99% of people. Because on technicality, I did deduct a point. Updates, you are getting 7 years of software update with the Pixel 8. This is really surprising for me. In all my prior Pixel reviews, I always talk about how Samsung always offer more software support than Google, despite Google owning Android. It's always been a funny story, but now Google took over that throne. I'm curious to see if Samsung's gonna match that when the Galaxy S24 series come out. But hey, 7 years from now, in 2023, this phone will still be supported. So this goes back to all the new AI features that they have with this phone, all the photo editing tools and things like that. You can do face swap. If you take a good photo, somebody's not smiling. I tried this function a few times. This really doesn't work that well for me. Sometimes when I swap the faces, the background gets a little distorted. You see the hair is out of place. You still have to do more editing. It's not a magic one-stop shop or anything like that. And then they got the new magic editor mode. You can change the background of the sky. You can move people back and forth. I honestly never really found a use for this. I'm not a big photo editing person. But if that is something you're interested in, the Pixel 8 does give you access to this initially. But eventually it's all going to roll back to the Pixel 7, 6, and all of that. So all these new features, AI stuff is cool, but they're all software cloud-based. So you're going to eventually get it, especially own this phone for 7 years. Whatever feature that come out in the Pixel 9, 10, 11, 12, you're going to eventually get it all on your Pixel 8. You may not get it right away, but you wait a few months, it will eventually come. And even when it comes, it's not something I use all the time either. So regardless, props to Google for 7 years of software updates. We'll see if the Pixel 8 is still stick around long enough for them to support it until then. Ecosystem, I will give the Pixel 8 a 4 out of 5 just for the track record. I know ecosystem, they got their watches now, they got their Pixel buds, but just depending on where you live, especially in the US, more people use iPhones. So unfortunately, you're going to be that green bubble guy outside of the Apple ecosystem. So you got to mess up their group text and everything like that. And Google in general, they have a really poor track records on supporting their products long term. Even though they say they're going to support the Pixel 8 for 7 years. Who knows, maybe if they choose not to be the market anymore. And they do have a track record of doing that in the past as well. Before that, we have the Nexus series. There's so many programs and features, software that Google support for a year or two or less, and then they just completely get rid of it. So I'm a little bit hesitant there just in terms of the track record, so I did deduct a point. And even looking at this phone alone, they got rid of the photosphere function inside of the phone. It's not something I really use, but apparently there are some few hardcore Pixel users out there that use the photosphere feature that was in the Pixel 7 and prior Pixels. It kind of lets you take a picture and gives you like a 3D effect. You can pan your phone back and forth, gives you that VR type of look. I played around with it once or twice, but it's not something that I find to be that useful. But regardless, that's an example of Google just randomly getting rid of things when they no longer want to support it or they think people wouldn't use it. And finally, the last category is value. So value-wise, I give this phone a 4.5 out of 5 just because it is an increase over last year. Last year, Pixel 7 was at $600, which I think is an incredible starting price. This year, the Pixel 8 started at $700, so you can see the price slowly creeping into the S23 range. Pixels have always stood for good value and bang for your buck. I'd like to see the trend stay the same or go the other way, but instead it went up. And even for the Pixel Fold, they priced it at $1,800, which is the same as Samsung. Galaxy Z Fold 5 5th generation phone cost $1,800. Pixel priced their first generation phone the exact same price. So I don't like the way the trend is heading. OnePlus, on the other hand, launched their first generation foldable and they priced it below Samsung. So that is something I would have liked to see. But regardless, at the end of the day, I think $700 is a nice sweet spot for a really strong, powerful flagship phone. Anything below that would be great value. Anything above $1,000, I get hesitant. I still would use it just to try it out for my own purposes. But in terms of recommending it to people, I think anything above the $1,000 mark is too much, especially for the extra price that you had to pay for the premium or the pro version. Most people don't use a fraction of all the pro features that are available out there. You know, some people do just simply get the best of the best just because that is what is available from their favorite company. So they're going to upgrade regardless. But me, I like to look at it in terms of value, and I generally prefer phones around the $700 price range. So if you look at the total score and add them all up, I got a 36.5 out of 45. Which is a B- for this phone. I think the biggest thing that drove down the rankings for me is just the battery, which is a 3 out of 5, and the performance, which is a 3 out of 5. So if they find a way to fix those, it will make it a much better phone. Alright guys, hope you find this video to be helpful. Let me know what you think about my rankings above. Please check out my daily series if you haven't already. Remember to like and subscribe, and see you guys in the next video.